Then came the stroke of midnight and the first seconds of a new year whose outcome no one here can know. Even now, no one could bring themselves to believe that war could be just a couple of weeks or so away. Saddam Hussein himself still seems to believe that the United States and its allies lack the will to fight. But Western diplomats here are starting to say that war may be unavoidable. John Simpson, BBC News, Baghdad.
Here, the Chancellor Norman Lamont has said that Britain's commitment in the Gulf has so far cost around £480 million. He warned that as the crisis went on, the cost could affect taxation and public spending.
The escalating cost of sending British troops to the Gulf has already led to an overrun in planned expenditure, and the unknown length of a possible conflict is putting pressure on Norman Lamont, Chancellor now for 5 weeks, who acknowledges he could find his budget calculations going adrift because of the Gulf crisis.
Clearly, a war could affect both tax revenues and it could also affect public expenditure. But precisely what the effect would be would depend very much on how long the war went on.
As to the economy as a whole, unemployment will increase, says the Chancellor, but he thinks companies should be able to cope with the downturn, and a lower rate of inflation would be to the advantage of everyone in the country.
We're at the beginning of a new year. There is a lot of gloom and doom, a lot of pessimistic talk. But actually, there is a silver lining there, and there is a prize this year. That is that we have an excellent chance of getting inflation down and getting it quite sharply down.
Neil Kinnock says the government has rammed the economy into recession, and Labour accused the Chancellor of complacency bordering on the irresponsible.
Who can have confidence in a government which, after 11 years, is promising success again at the end of another year? The fact is that Tory economic incompetence has failed Britain. That's why we're facing again a deep and damaging recession.
Jim Wallace, for the Liberal Democrats, said unexpected spending on British troops shouldn't be used by the Chancellor as a smokescreen for economic mismanagement. The cost to Britain so far is equivalent to a third of a penny off income tax, and with Gulf expenditure now increasing at a faster rate, the continuing uncertainty makes an early election even less likely.
A former army nurse says that he'll defy his compulsory call-up and go to prison rather than serve in the Gulf. Henry Parr from Galashiels in Scotland has received his call-up papers ordering him to report for duty on Saturday.
Henry Parr served in the Royal Army Medical Corps. He bought himself out 12 years ago, becoming a psychiatric nurse. He says that for the last 10 years he's received no reservist training and no money from the army. He says he would be prepared to work in a military hospital in the
heart of Transylvania, in the Vampire Hall of Fame, yeah, there's not a vampire than the other. He won't bite, beast the man, cause he's a vegetarian, and things never run to plan for. If you're looking for some fun, you can always count upon the wild wacky one they call Duckula.
Hey, Count Duckula.
Welcome.